Greetings, salutations, respect, and love. I am Scott. You are in the Prog Corner, and today we are going to be looking at the 25 best prog rock albums that did not make my year-end list. Oh, there were so many great prog albums that came out in 2022, and I'm sure we're going to get a couple more that we're going to miss. But we're just going to rattle off 25 great prog rock albums in alphabetical order. I'm not going to rank these. We're going to save that for the top 25. But yeah, first up, we're going to talk about Aliante and Destinazioni Oblique. This is the third album from these Italian instrumental proggers. Two of the members of this band came from a band called Ego Band. The only thing negative I can really say about this album is it's maybe perhaps just a little bit too long at 76 minutes. But if you like Italian prog, you're going to like Aliante. Next up, Tim Bowness and Butterfly Mind. This is his seventh solo album. You guys probably know him best as Steven Wilson's running mate in No Man. Steven Wilson does mix this album. He doesn't appear on it. He doesn't perform on it. But that's okay, because you've got Nick Beggs. You've got Ian Anderson. You've got Dave Formula from Magazine. You've got Peter Hamill. You've got Greg Sponton from Big Big Train. Is this stuff prog? Is it art rock? Yeah, it's probably more art rock than prog, but I really like it a lot. Next up, Crippled, Black Phoenix, and Banefyre. I just did an album review of this fantastic record a couple of weeks ago, so check it out if you want a little bit more info on this terrific band. This is their 12th album. It's their longest album, but it's really, really good. Justin Greaves taking up the cause for those who don't have a voice. I just love it. Rosalie Cunningham's next up in Two Piece Puzzle, her second solo album after disbanding The Great Person. This is just her and her partner, Roscoe Wilson. So the two of them provide all the instruments and all the vocals. It's just fantastic. I really love Rosalie Cunningham, one of my favorite female artists. Here's one that was just sent to me recently. I had no idea who these guys even were. This is a second album from them. It's the Deaton LeMay project. The album's called The Fifth Element, and imagine ELP with guitars, and you kind of get an idea what these guys are all about. They were smart enough to hire a singer because you know how prog is. A lot of times the vocals are the weak spot. Certainly not with this project. There's a dude named Hadi Kiani on vocals here. World class, man. Just crazy good. Really, really great stuff. Next up, Gandalf's Fist's latest album, Widdershins, and the final track on this album made my top epics of the year, the song called Cave, but there's some really great stuff on here. This is Dean Marsh and Luke Severin's band. They've been doing a lot of really, really expansive stuff with the Clockwork Fable and the Clockwork Prologue. Those two together were like 5 discs worth of music, so it was kind of nice to have Gandalf's Fist just do a single album. And yeah, kind of like a pared down, sanded down version of Gandalf's Fist. I love it. Here's another one that was sent to me by the band, and I never got a chance to review it. It's Ghost of the Machine, and the album is called Scissorgames. This is a 6-piece band, 5 members of whom were in This Winter Machine, and I guess when they reconvened to do their third album, the leader of that band and his bandmates couldn't really agree on what they were doing, so I guess the split was amicable. Yet This Winter Machine carried on and brought in people from Drifting Sun, and now the people that were in This Winter Machine formed their own band with the flute player from Nova Cascade playing, singing, and I guess he plays some flute on the, I don't really know. It's Charlie Bramald, and I guess he calls himself Charlie Bandana now. He's a great singer, and the band is good, and this album's good. What a great debut from these guys. Next up, a band that is very, very far from a debut. Hailing all the way from Chattanooga, Tennessee, it's Glasshammer and their 21st studio album, At the Gate. This is part 3 of their Scalagrim trilogy. Dreaming City came out in 2020, and then last year came Scalagrim Into the Breach. This is probably the best of the 3, and I'm really getting into trilogies. You know, you got the Gong trilogy, and then you had JPL's trilogy, and now you've got Glasshammer's trilogy. Long live Prog trilogies. Hannah Pryor's vocals on this album, terrific. Steve Babb and Fred Schendel, just they can do no wrong. I love Glasshammer. Really, really good stuff. Now we're going to France and Grandval with an album called Ffog. Excuse my French. It translates into water and fire. This is a dude named Henri Vaugrand. This is his 3rd album, and he's helped out on this album by Jean-Pierre Louboutin and Jean-Baptiste Itier, both from Nemo. But this does not sound anything like Nemo. It sounds more like The Cure, actually. Maybe a little Alan Parsons Project. But the Gallic nature of this record is so great that it kind of disguises just how progressive this record is. You're not going to get the JPL fireworks on here, but what you are getting is some really, really great 80s inflected prog. Just fantastic. I love it. Next up, another debut album that's really kind of not a debut. It's A Haven of Echoes and the Indifferent Stars. And you've got, some people from Frequency Drift on here. 3 people, in fact, from Frequency Drift. Andreas Hack, Narissa Schwartz on harp, Wolfgang Osterman on drums. They are joined by Paul Sadler from the great band Spires. So imagine Frequency Drift with a male vocalist. These guys are from Germany. They're not really that far removed from maybe a band like Sylvan, where you hear a lot more classic rock than classic prog, but it's good stuff, man. Thanks for sending me the CD. I appreciate it, guys. Next up, it's Jethro Tull and the Zealot Gene, the 400th album from Ian Anderson and his crew. The first one since the very first album that does not have the talents of Martin Barr on it, and that got a lot of people upset. But it's a good record, not a great record. Apparently, Ian and the boys have a new one done in the can. They're mastering right now for early 2023 release. Let's hope it's a little bit better. I do like the Zealot Gene, worthy of being on the honorable mentions list, I think. Next up, we're going to Poland by way of the Ukraine. It's Antony Kalugin and his latest album, Rebirth. He had to leave Ukraine because of Vladimir Putin invading his country, and he went into exile in Poland, where he released this fantastic album of bright, fresh, optimistic sounding prog. Man, this guy, yeah, I don't know how he does it. I don't know how he can keep a smile on his face with everything going on in his part of the world. But Antony Kalugin, Rebirth, fantastic. Next up, we're going to Sweden and a band called Manticore. Yeah, any band with a name like that, I'm probably going to listen to. And yeah, there's plenty of ELP-isms to be found in this music. Apparently, this band put out an album in 1993 with the help of Per Lind and the Swedish Art Rock Institution. There was an album that came out in 2018, and then this, their 3rd album. The band is led by Goran Holmberg, and I think it's his brother, Ulf Holmberg. It's very ELP-esque, with the mini moogs and, Greg Lake-esque balladry going on along the way. But it's a really cool record, and I love the album cover. It's really good. Next up, we're going to Greece and Naxatras, and their 4th album, originally, what a great original title. They're calling it 4. I guess all their albums got a little Roman numeral after them. I guess they might as well be from Chicago, right, instead of Greece. But this is the first one with a keyboard player in the band, so now they actually sound a little more prog. Their first 3 albums were good, but it was space rock, but without keyboards, it really, I don't know, I didn't really consider it to be purely prog. But on this, their 4th album, they are now a prog band. I really like it a lot. Next up, we're going to Scandinavia and Oak with the Quiet Rebellion of Compromise. This is a fantastic band that uses a lot of atmospherics and neo-metalisms and all kinds of Scandinavian folk mixed into the stew. It's a terrific band. This is their third album, the first one without any input from Ole Michael Bjorndal from Kalugin. So now they are down to a pure three-piece with Simon Johansson, Øystein Suthotet, and Sigbjorn Reag Vam. Oh man, yeah, you can tell I'm Norwegian, right? Boy, I really nailed that one. It's a good album. All three of Oak's albums are really good, and this one's no exception. Next up, we're going to the US of A, and one of my favorite guitar players is Fernando Perdomo and his fourth installment of the Out to Sea series, perhaps the best of the four. I really liked part one. I thought part two was a slight letdown. Part three was fantastic, but this one, the fourth part, really great. You even get the Paul Whitehead album cover. This guy's been so busy when he's not working with Dave Kersner and the whole In Continuum thing. He's working with Carmen Appice, doing an album with him. He's working with Denny Seawall. He did the 50th anniversary of Paul McCartney's Ram, that tribute album. He did a tribute album for Todd Rundgren. This guy is so busy, and everything he touches is cool. I like this guy a lot. Maybe one day we can get Fernando Perdomo on the channel and interview him. That'd be awesome. Next up, we're going to Italy and Phoenix again with their brand new album, Vision. This is the Lorandi family of Sergio, Marco, Antonio, and Giorgio. I guess at one point, Claudio, I guess, was the dad that was the patriarch of the whole thing. We lost him. This band was originally called Phoenix, and then they broke up before they ever put an album out. So when they reformed in 2010, they changed the name of the band to Phoenix again, and then they started releasing albums. This is their fifth album. It's all instrumental, and it's all awesome, man. I did a give me your favorite obscure prog albums, and somebody recommended their first album. That was actually just a few months ago. That's the first time I ever heard this band, and I was blown away. I really like them. Next up, back to Italy with RaneStrane or RaneStrane, or however you pronounce this band. This is the band that likes to take movies and turn them into prog rock epics. They did Nosferatu. They did Space Odyssey. They did two albums actually for that. They did The Wall. And now they're doing Apacolypse Now, and it's fantastic. This is not normally the kind of prog I like, but I love this. The storytelling's cool. Maybe it helps that Apacolypse Now is one of my favorite movies of all time. I don't know. Next up, it's Regal Worm and Jared Gosling. His outfit called Regal Worm. The new album's called Worm. You might know this guy. He was in a band called I Monster, and he also worked with Moby on his classic album Play. I think he actually produced like 4 songs on Play. But here we have Jared doing the prog, and it's weird. It's not your traditional prog. It's just out there and bizarre, but it's really great. I love him. Next up, we're going to the UK. We're staying in the UK, actually. It's Return to the Earth, and the album is Fall of the Watcher. I really like this record. This is the first time I've ever heard these guys. I think it's their third album, but if you like IQ, if you like that kind of neo-prog, you're going to like this. In fact, the singer, Robin Peachy, sounds exactly like Peter Nichols from IQ. So, the learning curve is actually pretty shallow on this one. I got a twofer for you guys. It's the Samurai of Prog, and as per usual, they're cranking out albums left and right. They came out with 2 albums this year. The first one was called the Spaghette Epic 4, and that was fantastic, and it included Stefano Galifi from Mozilla Rosenbach, just a great album. And then they followed that up with another album called Anthem to the Phoenix Star, and this one is being billed as Samurai of Prog with Kim Oporsti, Marco Bernard, and Marco Greco is kind of the new guy in town. Stephen Unruh, I guess, is too busy to be dealing with the Samurai of Prog, so Marco Greco is going to be the new third guy in the band. Both of these albums are terrific, just really, really strong. I like them a lot. Next up, going to Norway, and it's Ffog and their debut album. This is the inaugural release of Charisma's new label called Is It Jazz? And Ffog is not jazz, but imagine if King Crimson decided to go all in on modern jazz. It might sound a little bit like this. Great album cover, great debut album, fantastic stuff. I can't wait to hear more from these guys. Next up, Australia calling, and it's Mike Mills and his outfit called Toe Hider. His latest album is I Have Little to No Memory of These Memories, and it is all one song, 43 minutes of one track. It's fantastic. I love it. I even mentioned it when I was talking about my epics of the year, and why not? It's a 43-minute song. It's terrific and runs through so many different stylistic changes that kind of keeps your head spinning a little bit, keeps your brain active and busy. Finally, we're going to Sweden. Or Norway, or no, I think it is Norway actually, because this band is on Charisma, and it actually features two members of Ffog. It's WIZRD and their debut album Seasons. Yeah, I'd never even heard of this band. This one's, went right under my radar, and then people started talking about it in the comments, so I went and checked it out. It's really great. It's a psych kind of, pastorally, but really shiny, maybe 1968's calling, and you've got all this day glow and neon stuff going on. It's really great. It kind of reminds me of the way Tame Impala used to be, where they took some of those psych tropes and put them in their music. It's bright, it's shiny, it's fun, and I really, really do like it. And it's a debut album, so, maybe it's up for consideration for best debut album of the year. We talked about a couple debut albums on this episode, but the one that I am claiming as my debut of the year is not on that list, so you figure it out for yourselves. Anyway, tomorrow, what are we doing on the channel tomorrow, boys and girls? I don't even know. I have it all written down. I think we're doing the top 25 non-prog albums of the year, or we're doing the Viewers' Choice Awards. I can't remember which one comes first, but I think I'm doing my top 25 non-prog albums tomorrow, and then the Viewers' Choice Awards on Wednesday, where you guys get your voice, you get your say in the proceedings here. But anyway, I am Scott. You are in the Prog Corner. Thanks for checking in. If you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button if you want to. So, you never miss this mug when I got new content coming out. Anyway, peace in the Middle East. I love you guys. God save the king. And Pippa.